This will be some of my favorite guys who didn't get drafted and who I think could actually really stick on a roster this season. Names maybe you look out for in training camp. Training camp, if you're a fan of a team, you really like football, you really kind of have to try to find headlines, right? There's not going to be a ton of shake-up. You know who your starting quarterback is. You know who your number one receiver is. That's why training, Hard Knocks, training camp, a lot of times you focus on that roster bubble. That's some of the most exciting parts, right? So let's go through it. Quarterback, I'm going to go through these by positions, right? So quarterback, I think, who's most likely to make a team, I'd say Jalen Daniels for the Buccaneers, right? This is a guy, Cyrus Allen, wide receiver out of Cincinnati, went to the Chiefs in the 5th round, and Jalen Daniels out of Kansas were two of my favorite guys in the whole draft, right? Jalen Daniels, a little disappointed he didn't get picked, but not super surprised. I thought Kansas football has been atrocious for the last 2 decades. The best 4 years they've had have been the last 4 years, and it's because of Jalen Daniels. And he likes to push the ball down the field. There's too many dirt balls. There's too much inconsistency. He didn't play in a super pro-style offense. He doesn't have this giant frame. He didn't run in a crazy 40. I can see why he didn't get drafted, but I do think he's a dynamic player. He's very elusive. He can scramble. He likes to push the ball down the field. Throws off platform that you can't teach, right? But he's got to get better at the everyday fundamental stuff. Running back. So in Buffalo, I'm going to go with, running back Desmond Reed out of Pitt. He isn't a very big guy. Tyreek Cohen, kind of an easy comp for him. He return kicks. He can catch out of the backfield. He can handle runs too. I don't think being small is in vogue right now in the NFL. We're not in the speed kills era anymore. If anything, we're closer to, classic 2000s, heavy personnel style than we are to, mid 2010s where people are throwing for 400 yards every game. So I don't think being very small boded well for Desmond Reed here, but I do think he can make the team in Buffalo. Wide receiver, Aaron Anderson, it's the same spiel. He's a classic slot. He's not a big guy. Nowadays, people are putting tight ends in the slot or not putting slot receivers on the field at all. Teams just aren't really looking to bolster their 10 personnel. They're looking to bolster their 12 personnel right now. But Aaron Anderson, thought he did well at the Senior Bowl, thought he's a really good player for LSU. I think if LSU had some better seasons, his draft stock would have been much higher. He's there in Cleveland. There's a bunch of opportunities to be had. It's a young roster. That's my pick for receiver. Some other considerations, Jeff Caldwell, really liked him coming out of Cincinnati. He's with the Chiefs. And then Joseph Manjack with Denver. He's an older guy. He was at Houston for a while. I forget the exact last place he played. I should have looked that up before the video. But big receiver, reliable. He kind of reminds you of a Mac Hollins. He plays without gloves. And he's going to Denver. And Denver just didn't have a lot of picks. So there's opportunities to make that roster. Let's go to offensive tackle. Nolan Rucci, really good guy, Shrine Bowl player. Surprised he didn't get drafted. I had a late round grade on him coming out of Penn State. Big dude. In Indianapolis, they know how to develop linemen well. So that's my pick there. Honorable mention would be Isaiah World. He was a draftable guy, tackle out of Oregon. He tore his ACL in the pre-draft process. That's why he didn't get drafted. The Chargers with Jim Harbaugh. I imagine they're pretty good at developing offensive linemen. You probably won't see that guy play this season, obviously, torn ACL. They'll probably IR him. And so that's why it's an honorable mention. But next year, he could have a real shot to make the team and play. Let's go to interior offensive line. I think his name is James. I know his last name's Brockermeyer out of Miami. He played center. He's with the Falcons. I had like a second, third round grade on him. I don't know what I was missing. He was the center. I don't pretend to know everything about O-line play. I never played it. I never coached it. I do try to be diligent and try to pay attention to the trends and just kind of use common sense to which guys I think are better. But he was really good, and he's with Atlanta. See if he makes the team. Defensive line, going to go with James Thompson out of Illinois. He's with San Francisco right now. And San Francisco drafted Romello Height. They drafted Grayson Halton. They're trying to get better at their pass rush. And now that James Thompson, I thought he was the best D lineman at the Shrine Bowl, right? He played a little bit inside, a little bit of 3 technique. He was quick. He had moves. He attacked half a man, right? He's not huge, and he didn't test super well, but I'm still surprised he wasn't a late rounder. I thought he was the best interior defensive lineman to go undrafted. And the best edge to go undrafted, Indame Tucker out of, I think it was Western Michigan, went to the Chargers. He had like 10 sacks this year, 11 sacks. And he was one of those to where he didn't have much production. And then I forget who was coaching Western Michigan. There was some big-time coordinator or head coach there who allowed him or helped him have a big year. So he was one of those where he had a big senior year, but college scouts want to, or pro scouts want to see more consistency through your entire college career. But that kid can play, and he played well at the Senior Bowl too. He's a little bit of a tweener between. He's more of a quick, off-the-edge guy. To linebacker, Dante Lawson out of Alabama went to the Eagles because, of course, he did. I had a draftable grade on him. Didn't get picked. The Eagles know what they're doing with SEC guys. Torian York was a very instinctive linebacker, not a huge guy. He went to Denver. Again, Denver just didn't have a lot of draft picks. Somebody's got to play special teams. That's, kind of an honorable mention to make a team there. Let's go to corner. Thad Dixon was my pick, right? UNC guy. I got undrafted, went to the Giants. They gave him a bunch of guaranteed money, the same, almost the same as you would if he was a 6th or 7th rounder. Pretty sure he tore his Achilles in the offseason program, unfortunately. So I got to pivot. So I'm going to go with Amari Harvey again to Denver. They just didn't have a lot of picks. Somebody's got to make the team. He was a really good, I think he was a convert from receiver to corner, so a little bit new at the position, but I thought he was really good for Georgia Tech and played well in the Shrine Bowl. Safety, it's a bit of a tie. I really liked Lewis Moore, and I really liked Bishop Fitzgerald. So Lewis Moore, safety from Indiana, older guy. I think he was at Ole Miss, went to Indiana, won a national championship. He's like 25. So I understand why teams didn't draft him. But he's not the most physical dude ever, but he can play safety, man, and he has legit instincts, and he's got some elusive, hips. He can break open, he can cover deep, right? And he went to Miami. So I hope he finds a role there. He can make the team. Bishop Fitzgerald, I thought was better than the other safety from UNC, Kamari Ramsey. Obviously, I think Ramsey will be a nickel in the NFL, a little more than a traditional safety. Maybe Bishop Fitzgerald wasn't, the testing numbers weren't there, or they felt like he wasn't going to be immediate impact on special teams, but safety out of USC going to Tennessee, I think he could make that roster. I was very impressed with his footwork, very impressed with his ability to play single high safety, play split safety. Does need to become a little bit of a better tackler. And let's finish it with, I got 2 more for you. Dan Villari. He went to the Rams out of Syracuse. Hasn't been playing it long. Tested really well. There was a lot of interest from him. I'm really surprised he wasn't drafted late round as like a developmental guy. And where a better place to go than the Rams? They know what they're doing with tight ends. So Dan Villari is my pick to make the roster out of tight ends. And then kicker, there's a Hawaiian guy. I think he's a little older. I think he was born in Japan. Kenzie Matsuzawa. I went to the Raiders. That's my pick for kicker. I appreciate it. I think those guys have a good chance of making the team. And I just wanted to get it out first. You wanted you to hear it here first.